What's up, brand builder? Stephen Hurahan here on the Brand Master Podcast. And in this episode, you're going to discover top AI marketing and branding strategies and tools with the one and only Neil Patel. Now, Neil Patel, if you don't know already, is an absolute OG when it comes to modern marketing, digital marketing. And I've been following him for probably around about 10 years now. His reputation precedes him, and he's been responsible for founding the likes of Crazy Egg, Uber Suggest, and Kiss Matrix. And he also still has his hands in the game with execution and advisory services through his own agency, Neil Patel Digital. And I can't tell you how excited I am for this episode. We're going to dive into a few really important and timely topics at the moment. You're going to discover what the future is going to look like for marketing and branding with AI from Neil's perspective, what you should never let go of to AI, and some of the best strategies and tools that you can use today, according to Neil. So if you want to learn about AI in marketing and branding from an absolute OG of the digital marketing industry, then don't miss this episode of the Brand Master Podcast. Ready to unlock the future of brand strategy with AI-powered insights? Brand Builder is the only dedicated brand strategy platform built specifically for the next generation of brand builders. Imagine strategy processes that are intuitive, deeply insightful, and produce unique and effective strategies effortlessly for any business, with any audience, in any market. Simply follow the steps, leverage AI-driven insights, and produce comprehensive guidelines and action plans for your clients and teams. Start building smarter today with your free account at brandbuilder.ai. That's brandbuilder without the E.ai. Welcome to the Brand Master Podcast, a show specialized in helping branding professionals and entrepreneurs to build brands using strategy, psychology, and creative thinking. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brand Master Podcast. And I am genuinely delighted to have on the show with me today the one and only Neil Patel. Neil, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us today.
Thanks for having me.
I've just finished wrapping up the intro, and I was telling all the listeners that I've been following your stuff for a long time now. I'd say going back 10 years, I used to pick apart your SEO articles, and I wouldn't say I tried to reverse engineer. You told everybody what to do in those articles, and I learned a ton from you back then. So first and foremost, thank you very much for that. And it's great to be chatting with you today. And we're going to be chatting about something that is pretty relevant, pretty topical: AI in marketing and branding. So before we dive into it, I was chatting to Seth Godin not so long ago on the podcast, and he said that he thinks AI is the biggest thing since electricity. What's your broad take on AI and what it's doing for us and what it will do for us?
Yeah, so I think AI is great. Um, I think we're in the early innings of AI. If you think about it from a baseball game, I think we're in the first inning and we have a long way to go. The
Mm,
technology is amazing, but I think we're just scratching the surface and we really haven't seen what it can do for us.
mm.
A lot of people like, look at this video creation, look at, how it can help us with ideation or content, or just give us an answer when we ask it a question. But you're just skimming the surface. This is not even, we're going to look back 10 years and be like, we thought that was great, and we're just like, think of it as pretty much whatever. But yes, I think it's going to change the world and it's going to change a lot of lives.
Yeah, look, you can tell that we're really in the infancy, and it's like a child playing with a new toy for the first time. Everybody's kind of
Yep.
fumbling around going, "Oh, look at this can do." But we move past that very quickly. So it's very interesting to see the whole world fumble around with a new toy like a toddler. Um, but look, we've all had AI on the radar for a long time. And most of us have been, our experience with it has been through the movies and, Doomsday and stuff like that. People are afraid of AI. Should they be, from your perspective?
I don't. I can't answer should they be afraid from a doomsday perspective. That's well over my pay grade. I'm not that smart. But what I can tell you is if you don't embrace it and use it, you're going to be displaced out of a job. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. Look, it is just a tool. We've got to make do with what we have at the moment, and as you said, if you don't embrace it, if you don't move with the times, you're going to be very quickly left behind. The old saying goes, AI won't take your job. Somebody using AI will take your job, and that's pretty much where we are at the moment in terms of agencies, because most of the people listening at the moment, they're either professional brand builders with their own agencies, or they're brand builders building their own businesses. Um, what are some of the most immediate ways that agencies specifically can use AI, and how are you using it in your agency as well? What's your take on that?
Sure, it can help you with ideation, can help you with creative processes, whether it's ad campaigns like the images, can help you spin up a lot of ad campaigns, and you can A/B test and figure out which one works the best or not. It can help you with research. It can help you with just ideation of content. It can help you with data and analysis. So let's say you have all these channels that you're doing marketing on. It can help analyze the data in real time and tell you where the wastage is, where you should adjust. So that way you're not losing as much money or spending it in areas that aren't producing as much of a return. The possibilities are endless, but those are some of the areas that a lot of companies are using it for.
Mhm.
And I think you'll see that change drastically over the next 5 years as the technology evolves.
Mm. And how have you guys embraced it in terms of embedding it into your workflow? Is there any kind of structure to that, or is it still really at a stage for you as well where you're figuring out, how can we make this part of the process more efficient with AI? How can we make that part of the business more efficient with AI? Where are you and your businesses up to with embedding it in your workflow?
Yeah, so we're still figuring it out, just like everyone else. And the reason I say that is the technology is there.
Mm,
I know it's still evolving, but there's a lot of things it can do that are amazing. It's not that easy to just automatically click a button and implement it in your workflows and have it work error free and perfectly,
hmm
right? So a lot of trial and error, experimentation, a lot of humans reviewing things, adjusting, then spitting the data back to AI so it can learn and improve over time. But yes, we're still in the process of figuring out the best way to use it in every area of our business. And I think it's going to change drastically over the next few years as the technology gets better. But the main area I would have to say that we use it as a corporation is data and analytics. Creative stuff, yes, it's great. You should use it. But what makes it really amazing is it can analyze data in real time. And if you're spending a lot on marketing, that's going to save you way more money or generate you way more money than it having, creating a creative ad campaign for you, which you could have got done for cheap anyways.
Mm. Yeah, and I love hearing you talking about it, because I remember looking at some of your stuff. I remember you came out with Uber Suggest, and I remember it was a free tool. I was like, he's not charging for this. So I was like, how's he going to monetize this? I remember trying to reverse engineer your stuff. So I would be, I'd be super interested to be a fly on the wall, looking at how you guys are doing that. So can you give me a bit of an insight as to what that looks like in terms of, so yeah, everybody's embraced the creative side of things. That's, I would say, the easier side, the more obvious side. Um, but when it comes to analytics and data, I would say you're the kind of mind who would be able to say, okay, this is what we might be able to do with it. This is how we could also bring it to the people and wrap it up in a software. No doubt there's stuff ticking in your mind along there. But what does it look like in terms of where it is at the moment, in terms of what you're able to make it produce for you?
Sure. So I'll give you the data and analytics example.
Mm,
It's able to tell us well, let's take a website that's doing e-com, right?
mm,
Or a SaaS-based product, take either one. It's able to tell us, hey, you're spending all this money, Facebook, Google, Pinterest, Snap, etc. Here's where you're getting an ROI. Here's where your campaigns are not performing as efficiently, and here's where you should readjust your dollars. It does that, but it's not perfect. I'll
mm,
give you a great example of this. If I start a new campaign on Google, The first day, 2 days, week, it's not going to perform that well compared to a month or two later because you're going to A, fine tune, but B, it takes a system a while to learn. In one day, it's not going to have the perfect answer for you.
Mm.
A lot of times AI will say, even though we're training it to say, hey, it's a brand new campaign, don't jump to conclusions. A lot of times it'll say, this campaign is losing you money. You should consider shutting it off and you'll save X dollars. Well, I just started the campaign a day and a half ago or 2 days ago, and it's still learning. Why would I shut it off? And then, you let it run for a while and it starts working. And the AI is looking at it and they're like, and it starts averaging it out over the period from when it started. And it's like, yeah, it's not performing as well as your other campaigns. Well, of course it's not. It
Mm.
hasn't been running as long. But you get what I mean and when I'm talking about the flaws. It's not perfect, but a lot of it comes to logic and how you train it. And it'll get there. What I'm getting at is it's not perfect yet.
Yeah, and look, I think that's a perfect time because I had a question later on in this chat to ask you about the flaws that you're seeing. And anybody who's used GPT or any of the AI tools for, let's say, content creation, and they're playing around with pretty generic prompts, they can see some of the flaws and some of the repetition. Um Obviously you're seeing it at a more kind of data analytics level. What are some of the flaws that you're seeing, and where should we be careful with how we trust AI?
Yeah, so that's one of the flaws. The biggest flaw that we see with AI is it's just inaccurate in many cases. See, AI
Mm.
scrapes the web and it learns from everything from the past, but what's out there on the internet isn't always accurate. So it's taking that to figure out outputs and it's taking a lot of bad inputs as well. Now, I'm not saying the majority, but there are bad inputs that it's taking into account and it's just creating bad outputs because of it. That's the biggest flaw.
Yeah, and look, that's the law of all content syndrome, isn't it? I mean, if it's trained on all of the content that's out there, yes, there would be some really great experts writing content, but there would also be some really pretty average content creators, and the average
Yep.
of that is going to end up average. So that's what I'm seeing as well, and I'm sure that that's what a lot of our listeners are seeing as well. In terms of how agencies can educate their clients about AI benefits and AI limitations, what would you be saying to clients in terms of educating them when they want you to embrace AI on their behalf?
So what we tell most companies to do is get your team to use it in environments that you can control. And instead of saying, here's the power of it, and here's the benefits and here's the cons of it, everyone already knows AI is here. Most people have tried these chat GPTs or Gemini, Bard, or any one of the solutions out there. So you don't really have to convince them to use some of those things. Yes, they're not necessarily sure how to integrate a business, but what we tell them is just have your team start using it and they'll start figuring out ways to make their job more efficient.
Mm.
And a few times a week or once a week on Fridays, have a few people from different departments. You can have a lot of people on the phone call, but a few people from different departments breaking down cool, unique things they've done with GPT or Gemini or whatever it may be.
Mm.
And the reason this is important is as an organization, it'll teach people how to be more efficient and it shows them the real value of AI. You got to
Mm.
want them to do it. You got to want them to use it. You got to want them to integrate it and embrace it. Just forcing them doesn't work as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. Because look, at the end of the day, we're speaking with clients on a daily basis. They know AI is out there and they're curious about how you're using it within your workflow, and they want to know that the work that they're getting has some kind of AI influence because they want to be on the front line. So, that makes sense. You educate your clients, you tell them about the possibilities, but you also show them the limitations as well, and then you get your even keel from that. In terms of what we can the most the most effective places that we can use AI within an agency. Let's take a typical agency and their workflow at the moment. An agency is not using AI and they want to bring it in and just take the low hanging fruit. What would you do within a typical workflow to say, okay, if you go after this piece and if you go after this piece of your processes, immediately you get back, 25% of your time. Where would you go?
What kind of agency?
Well, let's say a digital marketing agency. Let's say
Well,
a Facebook ads agency. Let's go down that road. It's not my area of expertise, but let's go
sure.
down that road.
So you're probably spending the majority of, Facebook already has some amazing AI features. So you're naturally using them when
Mm,
it comes to ad creation, ad management, etc. So I wouldn't consider that too much optimizations and saving time. I would actually, if you're a Facebook ad agency, the biggest leverage is either the creative, which Facebook's trying to help you create at scale and through AI. And second biggest leverage point is your own website, the conversion optimization that you're doing on your own landing page. You can have AI give you ideas and analyze these pages and even have them analyze the competitor pages and give feedback on what you can do to increase conversions. And
hmm
it'll spit you out some common things that you can adjust. Try doing that and running some A/B tests and see what happens.
hmm
And an agency shouldn't just look at AI from the aspect of how do I save time. They should first start looking at AI as how do I use it to provide the best results for my customers and
mm.
then worry about saving time or optimizing their margins. But they should first focus on how to maximize the ROI for their customer.
And would you say that service extension could possibly be an area that agencies could look at as a way to use AI instead of just saving time? Look at, well, what else can we use AI to do to further help our clients beyond what we're doing at the moment?
Yes, but if you don't have the expertise in those other areas, the quality is not always going to be great, even if you're using AI. You
hmm
do need humans at this point to just double check, verify, and in many cases, adjust. Um, I look at it as use the AI to help you get more done within your time frame so you can charge a client the same amount but provide better results.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Something that I've been talking about with my audience recently is the value of the human experience. So looking at your the experience that you offer your customers and looking at where are the human aspects of the experience and how can we improve those aspects? Because would you agree that with AI and with everything that we've got at the moment, many services will kind of go down the road of being robotic, and those human interactions will become probably more valuable? Do you see that as an important thing to adopt going forward, to keep that human aspect, to keep that human experience, and to really embrace it as we go forward, as we see AI infiltrating so many businesses?
I do. I think that's really important. And I'll give you a great example of this. I was dealing with support from an organization that is financial, but their support isn't purely AI. And they're trying to use these AI bots or agents, whatever you want to end up calling them, to help me out. And it was just so frustrating and wasting my time. And I'm like, representative, human, like I want to talk to an actual person. And when I was talking to the person, they're able to solve my problem in 2 minutes. And now, when I was on the phone with them, it did say we're using this new technology to make it less easier. And I don't know if it's this new technology or it's similar to their old technology and they just want to reclassify it because a lot of support, you know, solutions have been automated for some extent. Maybe they weren't as sophisticated, but it was just a terrible experience. Sometimes you just want to talk to a human.
I had the exact same experience, and it's kind of what brought to light my idea about that human experience and how important it was to me. I was looking at two different softwares, and on one, I tried to get through to their customer service, and I got their I got their chatbots, and it wasn't the solution I was looking for. The outcome was, and on the other, I actually spoke to a human who were super helpful. And in this day and age, it's so refreshing, to have that human connection. And even though the other software had more features and it was a higher price point, I went with this other one simply because of that human interaction. So there was an actual conversion on the back of that as well. So yeah, I just think that that human interaction, exactly as your experience tells, you know, it leaves people with that you know, with that experience that's going to make them want to come back. And I think that's going to become more and more important as we move forward. I wanted to jump into a segment that I've hashed out specifically for Neil Patel, which is called My Favorite AI Strategies and Tools for Branding and Marketing. And I've got a couple of verticals that I'd like to ask you about. So I'd like to know what your favorite strategies are, and then I'd like to know what your favorite tools are, whether it's with those strategies or whether it's just within that. So first and foremost, an area that you're very, very familiar with and very experienced in is content. What are your favorite strategies using AI at the moment? I know that you love creating your own content, and the problem here is that a lot of people are trying to replace that. And I've heard you say recently that it's still better to do your own. What are your strategies with in and around content at the moment? And then where's AI helping you?
Sure, it can help a lot with the research. We're finding it very useful there. Help with
Mm-hmm.
ideation. Those things are great. And the third one that we've been using a lot in the last, call it 90-ish days, maybe a little bit more than that, is the transcription and translation of our video content, because they can
Mm.
dub me and my voice in so many different languages, and we've been testing those videos in like Portuguese and Hindi and some of the other regions, and the results haven't been amazing, being quite honest, but they haven't been terrible either. So it's just
Mm.
fine tuning them so we can start getting them going.
So in terms of, yeah, and I love that transcription. I used Descript for a lot of my podcast transcriptions, so I might look at that as well. But Descript has their own AI embedded in there as well. In terms of tools for content ideation, obviously, you could use GPT for that. Are there any content tools that you're using? For a long time, there's been the likes of Jasper and Surfer and things like that, but I know you are a man who likes to write his own content. Are there any content creation tools that you like to use?
Yeah, so Gemini, Chat GPT, but you guys already know about that. The other one I like using, and it's not for writing, it's HeyGen.
Hey, Jen. Okay.
HeyGen for videos, because it'll dub and transcribe and translate. But a lot of the content stuff, Jasper's getting crushed. It used to be a once a billion-plus-dollar company, and then people just use Chat GPT to do this stuff for free.
Mm. Yeah, and that's a perfect example of how AI is coming in and disrupting a lot of industries. So yeah, look, the tools are there, as you said. The technology is young, but it's getting better and better, and we're going to see a lot of change in terms of SEO. Because I know SEO is also close to your heart. You still have Uber Suggest. What are your favorite SEO first and foremost, what are your favorite strategies that you're using at the moment with SEO, and are there any AI influence there?
So there's a lot of SEO strategies that are great, but there are a lot of them people have already heard. The big one that we're using AI for SEO when it comes to strategy is, let's say you're a business and you operate locally in many different cities. Well, then have AI do research on all those cities and then send it to a human to start creating content, or give AI the outline and have it plug it into the outline. And then a human goes and modifies that. So then now you can create content at much larger scale. We've seen that work quite well. Programmatic SEO that a lot of people talk about, we haven't seen that produce great results at all in quantity. But the concept of using it for research, the second thing that we've been using it for heavily in SEO is analyzing all the players who are ranking above you. What do their content have that yours doesn't? So it's analyzing the gap, adjust your content so it talks about those things, and then you have a human go in and modify it. So those strategies we've seen work really well with AI.
Nice, nice. I really like that, and you know, it's they're kind of off the beaten track strategies as well. It's not what everybody's doing at the moment, so I love those little nuggets of gold. While we're on SEO, what is what are your thoughts on SEO with where we're at the moment? Because obviously, um, you know, the the way people are searching is changing. I can tell that from my own habits, my own behaviors. But of course, I'm not the whole market, but I've noticed it in different places as well. And it begs the question, is content creation going to be what it was? Or what's the future looking like for SEO as we knew it in the past?
So there's roughly 4.6 billion pieces of content being published each day on the internet. In 2 days, you have pretty much published more content on the web than the number of humans in the world. And when you look at that number, it's not just text-based content, it's videos, it's short forms, it's images being the largest one. And most people believe that, hey, to dominate SEO, I need to create text-based content. If you look at what Google shifted in their algorithm, they're showing videos, they're showing short form videos, they're showing images. When we've run a lot of analysis, when we see a video above the fold, people more likely are to click the video than anything else,
Mm,
hands down. And what I'm getting at is content creation is super important. I think there's going to be a lack of human written content in the future because we're seeing more and more people just turn to AI.
hmm
And what you're going to see is people wanting more content and craving authentic human created content. But to do well in SEO, it's not just text, it's not just audio, it's not just video, it's not just images, it's a combo of all of them because Google is now ranking all of them. Heck, like with this podcast, they're able to decipher what we're talking about and rank the podcast, right? So SEO is no longer just a text game. That's what it was in the past. To do well today, you need not just be omni-channel, but you need to have content in all the major formats.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're spot on in terms of the gap that's being created with human produced content. When you see an article that is produced by AI, it doesn't take you long to figure out, um, you you can kind of subconsciously see the patterns, even if you don't identify them straight away. So, and me personally, I like when you can tell when a human has written it. I've read so many of your articles. I know that you feel the same. And yeah, I do think so much of what will be replaced by AI in the immediate term will cause a gap and a longing for what was before. And I think we'll see some of that stuff come full circle there. Moving on to advertising in terms of your favorite strategies. Is there What are you seeing in terms of advertising AI based strategies at the moment? Of course, you've covered the data analytics there, and I know some of the content creation stuff. I know your thoughts on that. What what are you seeing the best results from when it comes to advertising with AI?
The biggest thing we see as the leverage point is being the creative. And
Yeah.
we're seeing human creatives outperform AI creatives.
Oh, really?
We're seeing,
Yeah.
we're seeing AI outperform human creatives when you take the winning variations of the human creatives and you have AI create tons of variations of what's working.
Right. Yeah.
So doing a combo of both is what we're seeing produce the best results from a conversion standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Nice.
I know a lot of these platforms have had AI for a long time, like Google's PMax and stuff like that. But a lot of it's just a black box, and you don't know where they're putting their ads, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. What about tools? Have you been impressed by any advertising based tools out there? I've seen a few, but for the most
Look,
part,
I try not to get too invested in them, and here's why. Do you remember like companies like Marin Software that would help you manage your paid ads and stuff?
mm, mm,
What happened to them now?
yeah,
What ends up happening is these platforms generate so much revenue from their ads that if there's any tools or there's anything that can make a better experience and help you out as an advertiser, they will end up not just creating it and releasing it. They'll do it for free and they'll make sure it's world class. So instead of spending too much time worrying about what other ad tools are there out there that you can use, the platforms will adapt and give them to you for free.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. We've seen it before, and what we've seen before usually tends to repeat itself. So, I definitely see your perspective on that one. It In terms of branding, I've only got a couple more questions for you here, Neil. I know that you've got a long rest of your day as well, but I want to get your take up because you're the digital marketing guy, but you've always embraced branding. You always talk about the importance of branding. And there's definitely an education gap. It's pretty much mostly what I talk about: brand strategy, brand strategy development frameworks. Um, do you believe as we move into this world that genuinely unique and differentiated brands are going to have an advantage from all the noise that's out there in the market? Investing in your brand, investing in your messaging, investing in your uniqueness and your personality. What's your take on that?
I do believe it. I believe brand is your only moat in marketing. Eventually, anyone can copy you, do the same thing, raise the money. Some can at least raise the money.
Hmm.
But why do you buy Nike shoes over Adidas? It's
Mm-hmm.
not the shoe quality, it's the check mark, it's the logo. When you want a car, electric car, you may think Tesla or you may think Mercedes. Why? It has everything to do with the brand. Tesla's advantage of it being an electric car isn't really advantage anymore. A lot of people have electric cars with good ranges.
Mm-hmm.
You're buying the brand. Sure, they have self-driving. I could tell you that their self-driving is way better than everyone else's. But in reality, the self-driving, whether it's Tesla, Mercedes, or whoever else has self-driving, I don't know the other people outside of Tesla. It's not great. It's not a huge advantage to use Tesla because it's self-driving. You buy Tesla because you like Tesla. So don't get me wrong, the self-driving is good, but it's not perfect. And when it comes to driving in life, self-driving at least want to be perfect. And it's self-driving with your hands on the steering wheel. But the point I'm getting is people make decisions because of brands.
Mm-hmm.
And the best possible thing for you to do is build a brand as a company. And it takes many, many years to do that.
Mm-hmm. In terms of strategy when it comes to brand, because as I said, this is kind of a domain that I'm passionate about. When I say strategy within the brand, I'm talking here about differentiation, positioning, your brand personality, your messaging. So you know what your DNA is, you know what position you hold, because I'm sure that you know this. There's a lot of businesses out there that go straight into marketing and they really haven't taken the time to understand who they are as a business and who they are as a brand. And then you waste all of those dollars because you don't have an institution to bank that equity, which is your brand.
Look, I'm with you. I think it helps. Do I think it's game changing? No, but I think it helps. I think the biggest thing companies need to do is just create a good product and service, market the crap out of it, and do it for 10 plus years. And you'll notice that your brand is starting to build. Um, does it take 10 years plus to make money? No. But these big brands like Louis Vuitton and Chanel and Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they weren't built overnight. They're really old brands. And people like looking at things as a year outlook. And I try to tell people to look at things as 10 plus year outlooks, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, right? Um, when you go past 10 years, you'll notice that just the time makes a huge difference in everything.
Hmm. Yeah, and look, that's at the end of the day, brand building is that consistency. It is, staying in the game, making customers happy over a long period of time, earning that trust, and they'll come back to you time and again. That's when you get the CLV. That's when all the other metrics that people chase follow you because you've done the hard work. So, look, I'm not going to keep you here all day, as I said, but I do have a parting question for you. So, if I plugged you into a new startup, right? Let's
Mhm.
say let's say a SaaS, right? Um, and I stripped you of your Neil Patel title. You're not Neil Patel anymore. You don't have all those contacts. You don't have all that following. You're just going in as a rugged startup. What would be the first three things that you would do to put that startup on the map?
So the first thing I would do is look at everything that they've done in the past and see what worked and what didn't. I would analyze everything, experiments that they ran, what worked, what didn't, conversion tests, social campaigns, which platforms work, SEO, literally analyze, because that'll tell you what works and what doesn't. The second thing I would do is double down on the stuff that's working and fine tune it. All right. Because what a lot of people do try to do is they try to do new stuff instead of just doubling down on what's working. Mm-hmm. Most channels are really big out there, especially in the digital space. Most people don't leverage them to its full extent. So that would be number two. The third thing I would do is look at the channels that didn't work and run drastically different experiments and try a lot of the opposite of what they were doing to see if I can start making those channels work, because they're working for someone else, right? And you can look at competition, you can look at what they've done, try drastic new things, but you need to get all the channels to work well to really put the brand on the map. And you need to do it consistently, like you talked about, but for a long period of time.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think that's, spot on. Like if at the end of the day, a lot of us assume that we know what the best course of action are, and a lot of us assume that we are the customer and we are the client, but we're not. And when you take that, when you move away from that ego and you let the market tell you and you do the testing, that's when that's when you're able to just follow the results and as you said, double down on what's working. I love that approach. And
as a marketer, people will eventually learn you don't know everything and you don't know the correct solution. When you find something that's working really well and you double down on it, you may think you're on top of the world. And what you'll realize over time is all good marketing channels eventually get crowded. They don't work as well. They're more saturated. They're not as effective. And what once worked doesn't work as well today or tomorrow. And you got to keep trying new things and experiment and look for new channels to keep growing.
And I think that's why you've been in the game so long, my man. You are fluid. And I think that's what you look for. You look for the data to tell you the story, not assume the story yourself, and just follow the numbers. And I think that's a perfect way to end the chat. Before I let you go, if anybody wants to follow up with you, to connect with you, to ask you any questions, where's the best place to do that? Where are you directing people at the moment?
My social handles are Neil Patel. They're just my name. And my ad agency is NP Digital.
Beautiful. I'll make sure that they're in the show notes. Neil, as I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've been following you for a long time. So to chat to you after all these years has been a pleasure for me. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today. And I wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.
I want to take a second to show some appreciation. I appreciate every single one of our listeners, but I have a soft spot for listeners who share the love. A shout out to Emma Marie P from the United States. Always learn something gold. Every episode gives me at least one tip, takeaway, or strategic action I can use to support my own business. I really appreciate your review, Emma. Thank you so much. If you want to share the love and possibly get a shout out on the podcast, please take a couple of minutes to leave a review on your favorite platform.
We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to learn more brand strategy techniques to level up your skills, make sure you check out brandmasteracademy.com. There's plenty of free resources and premium content for you to download and get you going. If you'd like to join our Facebook group full of like-minded brand strategists, all learning from each other, then find us by searching for the Brand Strategy Community, where you can find exclusive content for members as well. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to give us an honest review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listened, and make sure you tune in for the next episode of the Brandmaster Podcast.